Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and that is Blue. Come here, bud. You just walked in as if on cue. Come on. So what you just saw were what I'm going to call the Darling Buds of May. And I think I shot that footage last Monday evening, just hours before we got some of the nastiest spring weather dumped on us that we've seen in a very long time. So I think it was Tuesday morning. We woke up to, 4 or 5 inches of wet snow accumulation. And then it rained and snowed throughout the day. It was just nasty. It's the kind of weather that just makes you incredibly tired. And then the very next day, we woke up to another 4 or 5 inches of new gloppy, soppy accumulation. And then yesterday, Friday, we had 30-mile-per-hour winds all day long with gusts probably 40 or 50 miles per hour, intermittent throughout the day. So the weather here has been lousy, and like I said, it's the kind of weather that just makes you feel exhausted, makes you feel worn down. When I got into work yesterday, I just had grit in my teeth from the wind. But we did have that small window of the beautiful flowering of the trees outside, and little Mole, the little garden statue of Mole from The Wind in the Willows, which I got for Kelly for her birthday this year. But anyway, so I wanted to sit down this afternoon with you guys and just film a little catch-up. As you've seen, I have not got to my video on Fearless yet. That will be coming this weekend for sure. I was going to film it last weekend, but one of the things I wanted to chat with you guys about was why that didn't happen. And the reason that didn't happen was because last weekend, last Sunday, to be exact, the new Terrence Malick film, A Hidden Life, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. Now, obviously, I wasn't in France for the premiere, but when Malick has a new project, especially a project that has been in the works for a long time, and this has been in the works for a very long time. He shot the film 3 years ago and has been editing it since then. I get sort of obsessed, and I will talk about the film for forever, really, until it comes out. Yeah, Kelly sometimes I think would like me to sleep on a couch because she gets so tired of hearing me just natter on and on and on and on and on about the new Terrence Malick. So anyway, last Saturday, the first kind of extracts from the Cannes press kit were made available to the public. And so I spent most of Saturday morning last weekend just reading my way through that and looking for anything I could on the film. There were still no reviews. The film didn't have its world premiere until Sunday, 11 a.m. My time, so I think it was like 7 p.m. Cannes time. But, and then Sunday, of course, once that 11 o'clock hour hit, once the hour of the premiere began, the embargo was lifted, and there were just immediately a dozen reviews from the critics who were privileged to see an early screening of it at Cannes ahead of the world premiere. So anyway, I just wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about that film, A Hidden Life. Here is the unofficial one sheet for it that was used at Cannes. And what this film is about is it's a true story. And it is about the conscientious objector, Franz Jägerstätter, who was an Austrian farmer during World War II. And he refused to swear loyalty to Hitler, and he refused to fight in the German army. And as a result of that, he was imprisoned I think he was tortured and he was executed. And he had a wife. He had 3 daughters. And he was a man of faith. He was a devout Christian. And his conscience would not let him serve a political and militaristic machine that he deemed evil. So last Saturday, after kind of reading my way through all that press kit material, I was on the way to the grocery store and I sent Mark from Words Everywhere a message on Voxer, just talking to him about how excited I am for this film. And this was before I knew what kind of reception it was getting there from the critics. But I explained to him that there's nothing that gives me a greater buzz or charge in art, period, than films and novels that are just astoundingly well crafted, and that deal thoughtfully and seriously with religion and faith. Books like Marilyn Robinson's Gilead trilogy, Ron Hansen's novels, Marriott and Ecstasy and Exiles. So those are some examples from the world of literature. And then Malick's own film, The Tree of Life, which I think came out in 2012. And this was another one of those movies that he had been working on for a long, long time. And I was starting to think that we were never going to see it. And then it finally came out. And this is one of the 10 greatest films I've ever seen. Malick is the only director with 2 distinct films in my all-time top 10. The other one, which is my number 1 movie of all time, is his film The Thin Red Line, based on the James Jones novel. But so Malick is an Episcopalian, and he is a recluse. He very rarely grants interviews, very rarely even shows up to the film festivals where his work is being shown. So a little background on his recent years. So since The Tree of Life, he has released 3 other films, which is really quite a clip for him, given that for the first 25 years of his career, he made 3 films. And in the last 7 years, he's put 4 out, soon to be 5. But anyway, his last 3 films, To the Wonder, Knight of Cups, and Song to Song, were problematic, to say the least. Even his most kind of ardent fans, of which I count myself one, were thinking that he had somehow lost it. Not lost his mind, but lost his focus with his art. Those 3 films were largely, maybe entirely improvised. There was no screenplays. They were not linear in any way, shape, or form. They could be just exquisitely beautiful at times, but also just infuriatingly dull at times, confusing at times. The last one, Song to Song, is the only Malick film that I think is genuinely a bad film. I'm not sure what he was thinking with that project. Now, with that said, there is a video essay which I saw on YouTube recently from a channel called Thomas Flight on those 3 recent Malick films that went some way toward making me want to revisit those films as a trilogy, as kind of 3 parts of one vision or one idea. So anyway, over the last 6 years or so, people have really come to believe that Malick has kind of lost his way in the woods a little bit. So when I heard about this project of his, focusing on Franz Jägerstätter, I was really hopeful that he would find himself back in the saddle, so to speak. He had said in an interview, I think at the Austin Film Festival when he was there with Song to Song, that A Hidden Life, or as it was titled then, Radegund, would be more linear. He was working from a screenplay for the first time in a very long time. But just the idea that he was tackling a historic true life subject, right? That he was going to have some sense of fidelity, that he would have to have some sense of fidelity or respect for the memories of these people. The three daughters of Franz Jägerstätter and his wife are still living. They still live in that village. I read in the press kit material that some of the footage they shot in the film, they shot in the home of Franz Jägerstätter and his wife. And so I think given the gravitas, I suppose, of a project like this, it was going to lend itself to refocusing him, to bringing him back to center and doing something that was truly visionary and more kind of tightly focused. And sure enough, that has turned out to be the case. It sounds like the consensus of the reviews is that he has given us a film that is a return to form. And most of the reviews have been exceedingly positive. And critics are talking about how this film feels incredibly timely. And so I'm more thrilled than ever to see A Hidden Life. So that was my last weekend. It was literally me talking about Terrence Malick with Kelly all weekend, much to her chagrin, and watching everything I could about the movie. There's no trailer for it yet. It was picked up for distribution at the festival by Fox Searchlight. There was a bidding war, apparently, between Fox Searchlight, Paramount, Netflix, some other distributors, and Fox Searchlight won the distribution rights for, I think, $14 million, which was more than the budget of the film itself. But there is one clip of the movie available online. It's like a minute long, so I will link to that below, and I will also link to that Thomas Flight video essay on Malick's last three films for anybody who's curious. Then later in the week, I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember now. So I was making breakfast and I opened up my Facebook feed on my phone, and the first thing I saw was news from Hilary Mantel's publisher that a publication date has been announced for the third Thomas Cromwell novel, The Mirror and the Light. The book that I have been waiting for 7 years now is being published finally in England on March 5th next year and in America on March 10th next year. I have never been more excited to read anything in my life than I am to read that third Cromwell novel. I mean, when I saw that news, it literally gave me goosebumps. So given that The Mirror and the Light is set for publication next March, even though we're still quite some way away from that, I wanted to let you all know that I plan to do a read-along of Wolf Hall in January next year, Bring Up the Bodies in February next year, and then The Mirror and the Light in March of next year. So if you haven't read those books yet and are keen to, or if you have read them and want to reread them before the third one comes out, plan on it, because I'm going to be all about Hilary Mantel for those 3 months next year on my channel. And if any of you would be interested in co-hosting that read-along with me, just let me know in the comments below. And it's thrilling news. I mean, it's like I'm gonna literally be counting down the days and probably taking time off work when that book is published so that I can read it immediately. But anyway, so that has been kind of obsessing me as well. So the film that I have been most looking forward to for years now is finally being released, and the book that I have been most anticipating for years now is finally being published. So it's been a good week for Jason, but not such a productive week on Booktube because of these preoccupations, but also just because of the weather and how tired I've been when I've gotten home from work. The last thing I wanted to remind you guys of in this video is that you have one more month. If you have not done the Booktube Top Tens Tag yet, I will link to the original in the description box below. You have till the end of June to do your video on it. The results are interesting, and they get more interesting with every video. So I'd like to see, I don't know, another half dozen at least videos made of the tag. before the end of June, and then we'll have some answers. So anyway, I've rambled long enough. I hope I didn't lose everybody there before the Hilary Mantel news. But I will see you again in my Fearless video later this weekend. Adios.